There you go. Good morning, folks. I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Hancock County Commissioners, May 6, 2025, meeting to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to accept the agenda as presented with the following corrections on UT item 7C.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Is anybody here this morning who would like to make a public comment? Tell Josh, if there's anybody on the way, there's nobody right now. Okay, hearing none.
I'm going to move to approve the minutes of the April 15th, 2025 Commissioners' Special Meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Northeast Workforce Development. Good morning. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good morning. Thank you for letting us take an opportunity and update you on what's happening with the Northeastern Workforce Development Board. And I'm going to introduce myself with Commissioner DeBella. I've been with the Northeastern Workforce Development Board for about 2 years and 10 months. And so I've been down here on occasion to present what we're doing on behalf of the Northeastern Workforce Development Board. We have, it's really important for me to make sure we get out and let the counties know what we're doing. Each year the USDOL appropriates, we owe a Title I-B funds to counties. And by agreement of all the counties, those funds are pulled together and support the work of the Northeastern Workforce Development Board so we can serve individuals who have been long-term unemployed and have areas to employment, get back into work. That goal between our WIOA funds and our disaster relief funds, we try to serve about 500 people per year across all 5 areas. So it's we have quite an impact in terms of putting people back to work, training, and helping them get some more education. So so that's kind of briefly what we do. I'm here today with Kelly Cochran. She worked for the EMDC. She's our service provider. She's here today. And she is a WDS, Workforce Development Specialist, but also does business outreach. And so I'll give an update of what we're doing with the board, talk about some of the business briefly, about what's happening, and then give her ample time to talk about what's happening here locally and within the program. So
Gail, before you go any further, you're not jeopardy of losing any federal funds. Huh?
we are following it very closely. We are in jeopardy of getting cut back. Initially, when the first executive order came out to freeze federal grants and loans, we were on the hook for that, and we're watching very closely. There's a part of the new budget that President Trump has proposed is that there's a kind of a unified or streamlined approach to workforce, where they call it Making America Skilled Again. And a big part of that will be workforce development. So we expect to be included in some part of that equation. We don't know yet, but what the implications are, whether we'll get more, whether we'll get less. But we do know that apprenticeship will be a big part of what happens moving forward. The way I'm reading the proposed budget, they want to allocate about 10% of workforce, USDOL workforce dollars to apprenticeships across the country. So we'll see how that plays out. We're hoping within the next 60 days that we'll find out what our allocations are in terms of the 1B funds that support adult dislocated workers and youth, and see where that sits with us. But yeah, so we're pretty nervous about it, Commissioner. Yeah. We've been doing a lot this year. This has been a busy year for us board-wise in terms of ensuring we meet the demands of USDOL and the WIO regulations. One big part of what we do certify all of the one-stop centers. So when I say the one-stop centers, I'm referring to 3 career centers and all of the affiliate sites that would be operated in public-facing offices run by Eastern Maine Development Corporation and ACAP. So in total, like I said, we have 3 career centers and Machias, Bangor, and Presque Isle. And we have sub-offices, offices where folks can come in and get workforce assistance here in Ellsworth, up in East Millinocket, Dover, Holden, and Presque Isle. So we certify those sites using a 3-pronged approach. We look at the ADA compliance. So we go in and actually evaluate each one of the sites to ensure that they meet ADA, regulations and expectations. We also do what we call a Section 188 to ensure that the programs are accessible for people with disabilities. And then thirdly, we do what we call a one-stop checklist, which ensures that we do everything we can in each one of those centers to make it a no wrong door approach. So ensuring that partnerships are integrated, partnerships are being utilized so that anyone who comes through the door can get access to any number of programs that we have under our purview. And so all in total, we have 12 required partners under WIOLA. And so we want to make sure that those partners are working together and providing the services for anyone that walks through a center.
Are these partners other agencies or partners
Yes.
within other agencies?
There are other agencies, yes. So we're
It's good
talking,
to know you're coordinating them with other agencies.
it's a big part of what we do is try to coordinate our one-stop operator system. So we have, as an example, our 1B partner is an obvious one that would be adult, dislocated worker and youth. And the service providers should be represented in that. But we also have Bureau of Employment Services. We have both rehab services. We have Division of the Blind, Visually Impaired, we have adult education, the community colleges, farm workers program, and list goes on. So those are examples of partners that we try to integrate. And so it's a lot of work. But we're getting there, and we'd have to say that coming out of COVID, it's been a challenge. We're 4 years beyond it, but we're still recovering from it in terms of rebuilding partnerships and rebuilding some of the systems that kind of got boarded during that time. So, but we're getting there. We have EMPC is a one-stop operator, as a service provider, and they just recently hired an individual to help with integration of those services, and I think it's working out really well. So it's part of their contract. We also were able to accomplish an agreement, negotiated agreement. We call it the infrastructure funding agreement. And it's a requirement, again, by federal regulation, that all the partners contribute to the one-stop comprehensive center. In past years, it's been just the resident partners who contributed, and that was a fairly easy formula to negotiate. But when you look at we have 5 resident partners at the Bangor One-Stop Comprehensive Center, and it's 7 non-residents who also now contribute to the cost of the shared space. We call it the Info Center. So we've been able to negotiate that, and bills recently went out, and where we are moving forward to ensure that we that the non-residents cover a small share of that cost.
They all related to workforce? Those occupants?
Yes, yep, they all relate, and the idea of them contributing is that they benefit from the use of the Bangor Career Center. So whether that's directly benefiting from physical access to the center, where an individual or participant comes into the center, they may receive a referral from that, from one of the organizations in the center to their program, and that helps support their programs.
But if they need office space, what better place would they be?
Right, yeah. And there's also office space there too, and there's rooms there, conference rooms for partners to be able to come in and meet with participants, participate in trainings, conferences, things like that. So, so we're seeing an uptick in the number of folks coming into the center, and that's a good thing, and we'd like to see that right across all of the career centers. So, but right now we're focused. Our kind of goal right now is focused in on the Bangor career because it is the identified one-stop center. So. We're also well underway in terms of updating our local area workforce plan. We've held recently three local forums to get input into our local area plan. Again, this is a 4-year plan, and we look at how we want to strategize over our next 4-year period in terms of meeting the demands, the emerging industries, the addressing the barriers to employment within our given regional area. I didn't get it to you in time, but I was able to share it with Mike, and he has it in his email somewhere, and would be happy if you could distribute that to them.
I
That would be.
forwarded it to him last night.
Oh,
so-
do you do? Oh,
Yeah,
great,
I know
okay.
that they had seen it.
Oh, good, okay, good. I appreciate that. And if you have any input in terms of strategies for Hancock County, happy to take input from you as the commissioners or anyone in the general public. We want to make sure our plan is aligned with the state unified work plan. We also want to make sure that it's got the characteristics and local touch that we want it to have, that it addresses the local needs.
Did I miss it? Or is it the closest one-stop thing for us?
The closest is being, yes.
Kelly, is that something you're going to address, the dislocation for Hancock residents or something?
So what I do is I
I didn't mean to preempt you.
invite them down. They work out of our Ellsworth office 2 times a month right now, and we're looking to expand that
So I see.
and pull so that
So
we
then not
become a
everybody has to go
sub-mall.
to Bangor.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, and ENBC has been really great about making their space available to partners who would like to come in. I mean, recently, one of our partners is a seniors program. We call it a 4DD program, but they reached out recently to ENBC to see if maybe they could, use a little time to meet with individual participants who are 55 or older and looking to be trained and pre-employed at some point. So those are big things going on. Our job here is to make sure our local area plan is done by June 15th. I'll be meeting this week with board members to go over, the details of the plan that we have and the analysis that we've received so far from our forums and from our youth surveys that we sent out, business surveys that we sent out, and start to put a draft together. We'd like to have that draft done by mid-May and have it open for public comment by May 16th, May 19th, for about a 2-week period. And then we'll be ready to take those edits and then move forward with the final draft or submission. So, yeah, like I say, we've got a lot going on. In terms of budgetarily this year, we look pretty good. We always, we never want to turn money back to the feds. We want to make sure we're spending it and spending it responsibly. So within all 3 of our programs, I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of spending down the funds that we want to before the deadline is up in terms of turning it back. So always a challenge to recruit youth, particularly the disconnected youth, but I think we're going to be right there and spending that money out, and we'll get our reallocation in July, and we'll start another cycle. So we also are doing really great under our Quest grant. That was a grant that really designed to work with. Getting and enrolling under that grant is simpler than enrolling under WIOA. Some of the initial enrollment processes are simpler, and some of the thresholds in terms of definition around poverty and other things are less than what it would be for, say, a WIOA program. But we've exceeded our enrollment mark under that grant. We are at 241 total enrollments, 241 total enrollments, I believe, as of yesterday. And our mark was, our target was 200. So we still have we still have until September 30th to go before that grant runs out, but we're super pleased with that. And the other thing that we're pleased about in that grant is it's really targeting the individuals we want to serve under that grant, which would be the individuals that are largely justice involved. And EMDC, and they have done a great job working with the justice field to recruit individuals into employment training programs. And the last number I saw, I believe we were at almost 50% individuals in Quest had some sort of background. So really happy about that. That's where we wanted to focus our effort and prioritize the population for certain.
The Quest grant, that could cut up 141 of the 200. Is that a good sign that maybe this need isn't there that you thought of, or is it a bad sign that people in need are taking advantage of it? What do you think?
I
Well-
think there are more that could take advantage of it.
Yeah,
We're
just
continuing to reach to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's, right now, it's a little bit of when you look at some of the data that, in that PowerPoint presentation, unemployment is way down, comparatively, so it's very easy for folks to go out and find a job, and that's great. But that does make it more challenging to retain individuals in training, because a good job comes up, they're gonna go do that and probably put training, on the back burner. So those are some of the challenges we've been having, but, like I say, I think, we're in pretty good shape that they will get really good bang for our buck.
Well, that's a bad thing because you're training them for a better job than what they left to take.
That's
If
right.
that's the case.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we're really focused on good jobs and focused on career opportunities where they can get, benefits and things like that. So, but people also understand, a good job comes up at, $24, $25 an hour, whatever it may be, and they say that's pretty good, we're gonna take it. So they,
Fortunately, let's start in shells at Walmart at midnight, so.
yeah,
Which isn't,
it's great.
yeah.
So that's some of what we're up to. If you have any questions, happy to entertain those. Otherwise, let Kelly come up here and talk about what's happening locally in the program. Okay.
Right. As Galen said, on the northeast level, I'm going to focus in on what's happening out of the Ellsworth office, which generally affects all of Hancock County. We continue to partner with local high schools across the county. Last week, we were able to be a part of a job fair. Every Ellsworth High School student participated. We had 25 employers come and meet, as well as resource providers. So at the freshman and sophomore level, it was that exploration. What about an internship? What about some volunteering opportunities? At the junior and senior level, it was for now employment, what am I doing this summer, as well as where might that lead and what is that career path, or how do you get your start in that career path. Nothing we do is alone. Our resource providers that Galen mentioned, and then at the local level, not a day goes by when we're not collaborating and partnering. I never thought that I could add juggling or braiding to my resume, but that is what we do. And we just look for opportunities to make a resource go further, dig deeper, and reach the next person.
Shelley, excuse me.
Yeah.
You talked about the high school. How about voc? What's the relationship? Any relationship there?
With the CTEs?
Yes.
Yes, yep, deep relationship, we go out. Part of our relationship right now is working with Educate Maine and helping identify employers who might be able to work with HCTC to develop some of those pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships and get those a little bit further. That's a lot of what we're doing, as well as we're working with several students at HCTC to support some summer employment internships to further them in the field that they're interested in with our local businesses. So some of that support looks like mileage reimbursement so that they could take advantage of traveling and don't need to take a job right next door to their house where they could ride their bike, but they could come into town. Many of them are coming quite a distance. It's helping with clothing so that they can meet safety requirements within a shop, with a local dealership, et cetera. So between the high schools and the CTEs, that's what those partnerships really are looking like, especially for summer employment. Our education partners, meeting with adult eds, working with adult eds, we are deepening our cohort model. So when a local adult ed school is offering an occupational training, so we have several CCMAs who are, I think, getting ready to take their exam soon. We are able to partner with the school and have a direct introduction. So somebody who's interested in the class, they then say, hey, meet Kelly. I come into the info sessions and offer how we might support. Through developing this, we are still able to introduce anybody we're working with to that class, so it does work both ways. But having the support built right into that class, we're able to, again, help with the computer to access the online learning, mileage, some clothing. Every class has stethoscopes and certain shoes. And when you think about it, you might see the offering in the adult ed catalog and say, well, that's a low to no tuition based on other grants. Unfortunately, it still doesn't have direct access for so many people. Getting to the class, figuring out their work schedule, the $300 in tools and supplies to start the class can be that barrier. And that's where, I get the benefit because I get to see their faces when we're able to use these dollars and make it happen so that they can take advantage of this class and then meet them at my next doctor's appointment to say, hey, how's it going? Because they're local. Working more and more, I'm able to work with businesses to act as I'm their project manager, so to speak, for workforce and learning about their immediate needs. So summer hiring, what's happening now, as well as looking at, working with employers who are facing some pretty high retirements and, what they're facing and working with both local community members to make them aware of these, training partners so that we can work on trainings locally that satisfy some of these openings. Also, on-the-job training, our on-the-job training program, a business hires a participant of ours, we're able to help reimburse through these dollars and these funds. We're able to help reimburse to offset some of those training costs. So more and more, I see those as a soft entry for small to medium-sized businesses, which most of Hancock County is. Try that out, see how it feels, have some success. There are successes among us, up and down High Street, Main Street, and about. And then that's that invitation to apprenticeship. How does apprenticeship work? And so that's that pipeline, if you will. Real quick, high fives and happy tears happen all the time in the Ellsworth office. We were able to have the door open the other day. A gentleman we've been working with who, again, nothing is alone. He's utilized many local supports through our partners with overnight shelters, homeless shelter partners, food partners, many partners. He stopped in the other day to share. He was wearing logoed wear from a local business. It looks really good on him, as well as a save the date for his adult ed graduation, which he was nominated for honors. We also, just another Hancock County participant who was eligible for our services based on her recipient of SNAP benefits. She's a single mom, was interested in pursuing dental assisting to better support herself and her child. She had recently been hired as a receptionist in a dental office, but saw the need for more and had the interest for more. She did not have the financial means to pay for a training program out of pocket. We worked with another state of Maine program, tuition remission, for her tuition. And then WIOA funds, we were able to weave and help with a laptop, scrubs for clinicals, and now travel reimbursement for clinicals, as well as she's literally traveling the state this week, Eastport to Augusta, for her job shadowing and clinicals. And that is possible through WIOA funding. One of her emails, her last emails to us: thank you for your support and encouragement during this process. It's an incredible program and I can't thank you enough for helping me. So that extends to all of us. So, I do have flyers of who we are. We haven't met, so I wanted to provide flyers, my contact card. invite any questions, recommendations, partnerships. Do you mind if I step up and share? As we walk away, thank you so much for the funds that you extended to us. With those, we are able to open the doors. And so we're able to go beyond eligibility. With WIOA, we have certain eligibility criteria that we have to meet. And utilizing the funds that we were awarded, we're able to look past that and say, community member, are you interested? Come on in. It breaks down barriers, it breaks down perceived barriers, it allows us to reach further. And you will see upcoming reports. We're already working with some employers to truly introduce interested community members to what's available, go beyond the help wanted, go beyond that, get into the business, have a tour, see it, feel it, experience it. And oh, by the way, the interested employer is right there to do the interview and move further. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you both for this morning. Look forward to this once in a while, okay? Great. Animal control.
So he and Dan McCabe gave me a call, and said he got called out on a call. He was gonna be here, but, so what you have before you is the town of Sedgwick, both the agreement and the MOU. We had sent it out to him before and then had to follow up with him again just to finally get it signed and submitted, but it's for the current year that we're in right now.
All right, I'm gonna move to approve the town of Sedgwick's 2025 ACO agreement with Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'm gonna move to approve the town of Sedgwick's 2025 MOU for an ACO between town of Sedgwick and Hancock County.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the bad news is that couldn't make it. Good news is that you can't make it. He wasn't getting any calls, so it's good to know he's finally getting a call once in a while. Moving on. Morning, Millard.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Glad to see you here in person once in a while. We have your monthly report. Any additions or?
No, it's quite involved this month. That's why it came in person.
All right, I'm gonna move to accept and file the UT monthly reports presented.
I would like to take this,
One second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
like to take just a minute to mention to Kelly that we have money available in the UT for scholarships for post-secondary education
Okay, awesome.
for UT residents.
Okay.
Kelly, that's a tremendous program. We literally gave a young lady in township a full years of all expenses paid. We gave her a full education. So few people applied for it. She's the only one qualified. So
Awesome.
keep that back in mind.
Will do. Thank you.
So is the proposal from Waltham for the snowplow contract. Snowplow contract with Waltham ends June 30th. And this proposal is to extend the existing contract for 2 years with an increase of $2,500 the first year and $2,000 the second year. With the $2,500 increase the first year, that brings it up. $27,200, which comes out to about $1,000 a mile.
How's that compared?
I think that is, I don't know what the average is statewide currently, I know in 2006, the average statewide was $400 a mile,
In when?
2006,
Six.
Yeah.
It's how much?
$400 a mile.
Up to 1,000 here.
This would be 1,000.
Franklin, are you afraid of Franklin piece from
Franklin has 30 miles of road, and they're paying it's 57,000 for plowing. And I think the salt sand is another 50 or so. 100 and something for 30. Yes, so it's $120 divided by 30.
We reminded gentlemen that we entered into this agreement because we wanted to stay with whoever the town of Waltham had for a contractor, so that because they were using a contractor, even Ellsworth, one Waltham, going right through Plantation 8, we thought maybe we could have that kind of service. That's why we started doing this. You making any recommendations, Miller, to reconsider, or?
My recommendation is to put this up to bid. To see what happens.
Okay, so we have a bird in the hand, we know what we're supposed to spend here. And, the one disadvantage that we have as of today is that we kind of tip the hat on what our Jordan is going to charge us. Which makes it a little inconvenient for our Jordan to bid, but nevertheless. Flip side is that forced us perhaps to do Julie.
I just wanted to let you know, he gave you a price. Eastbrook gets $7.91 per mile just for the driver and the truck. That's not counting sand and salt. So we're well over $1,000 a mile in Eastbrook, well over. I just wanted to throw that out to you. That I know that.
No, I'm wondering if we shouldn't do a little research. See just how we're act this.
We can postpone this until the next meeting, and I will contact the state and get the state average, current state
I
average.
think that would make sense.
I just know the numbers.
You know, so let's do that before we do something.
Before we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Route 193 in Township 22. That is a sole provider kind of deal. Whoever gets the contract with the town of Bennington won't do what Waltham does with us. We have to go with whoever gets their contract. But it's been Randy Perry for the last 18 years.
We just say go with those, they won't pay it, bill us.
Right.
So it's just a matter of paying it, right? You say have to, I mean, it's.
We don't have to, but it's 2.5 miles of road, and whoever's plowing Bennington has to drive through that 2.5 miles of road to plow the rest of Bennington. And there's nobody else out there that's gonna do it.
So you suggesting that you just sign the contract?
I'm suggesting we wait and see what the price is and what it comes in at, see where we go from there. Ideally, it would be cheaper for us to do all of these roads ourselves. The problem is they're so far apart, we can't possibly do them.
With one contract.
Yeah, with one truck or one contract. You know, yeah, Fletcher's landing up here. And it takes an hour to drive to Bennington to plow that 2 miles of road down there.
2 hours, get tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 hours to get, yeah. There's no way we can do it, so. Mountains Ridge Road in Franklin, we contract with the town of Franklin. They're going out to bid, and their bids will be in June. We won't know until then what that cost of that road's gonna be.
In fact, we're gonna make it smoother for them, so we can.
Yes. Nicker Towers Road, that contract runs out June 30th. But they offered to extend that contract for 2 years at the same price. And I said, yes, do it. That's where we are for snow plowing.
Myra, it's,
Myra, we don't plow.
we don't
Yet. On April 11th, the Penobscot County Supervisor, Judge Buswell, and I did a site visit on the Myra Road. Penobscot County Commissioners had asked George to put together a cost estimate for what it would cost to bring the Myra Road up to suitable to do winter maintenance. So that's why we were looking it over. What we came up with was the best recommendation we could do was go back to the Myra residents and ask them to give us, sign over a right of way to the respective counties, to give us a free road right of way for Myra Road. Neither one of us, looking through county records, can find where the county has a deeded right of way to Myra Road. We were gonna do work on Myra Road back in 2019. And the issue came up that we couldn't find how wide the road was. So we stopped the project.
We talked about this before, but if they improve their end, which is the north end of my road. How much of that do we have down to the southern road?
We have 1.05 miles.
How, from the Myra town line down, from the, not county line down, how far before you run out of houses there?
Ooh, I didn't measure that.
I mean, is it close, is it just
About halfway, probably,
halfway? I'm just curious if
or a
we did,
little over halfway.
if we did improve our, only what was necessary to get them onto Penobscot. Because I still believe that everybody's gonna go to Penobscot County to get out of there in the winter. So we only improved half of what we had to, just to meet the last residents.
Well, even if they gave us a right of way, we're still looking at 280,000 just to bring our section up to,
The whole section.
yeah, the whole section. And if we're gonna spend that much on it, we're still stuck with a dirt road. So I would suggest, instead of doing the 280,000, do the whole thing and pave it. We'd have to figure out what the cost of paving it would be. And then we're done with it for 20 years and don't have to sink any more money into it.
Funds would come from where?
Myra Road is in the TIF.
TIF.
Hancock went TIF.
Huh.
But again, it's all dependent on them giving us a right of way. If they don't give us a right of way, there's nothing we can do with it.
Julie?
Millie, who did you work with, you and Penobscot, about checking on the right of way? I only.
We went through county records here and could
The
not,
books
and he
and-
went through the books in Penobscot County.
Did you look at the maps in the file drawer?
Yep.
Because I was gonna say, because Joe Coffey took 5 minutes and he showed me right where everything was, and that's why I was asking.
Yeah. We could find where the county gave back a piece and made some kind of a deal with St. Regis when they put in the Sudmill Road and discontinued the section of road that goes around the backside of Deer Lake and comes around by Eagle Lake, that section
Mhm.
where the Brandy Pond Road is, when they put in the Sudmill Road. But it doesn't address Myra Road, and none of it addressed the width. As far as what the width of the right of way was.
Why wouldn't they give you they'll just don't.
I don't know, my thought would be they all might, those that want us to take over the winter maintenance might actually do it, but there might be one or two holdouts that don't care one way or the other.
Don't want to give up that one.
Right. I want to go down.
Tree, they don't want to give up their tree.
Right.
They want
Yeah,
to kind of.
exactly.
Well, if we were doing that, how would you go about contacting everybody?
I would think that George and I would have to sit down with a taxpayer list and go through who owns what and send them letters.
That's really the first step if you want to do it, right? You can't do that.
Well, I guess the first step was to give you this information and see where you want to go.
Well, knowing that it's TIF funds, which have limitations on it, it's not being one of those limitations, piques my curiosity as to why we shouldn't proceed with this, because we have the funding in place, which is almost backwards from a lot of projects we're talking about.
Well, the difference is we're in a different position than Penobscot County. We have TIF funds to cover our portion, and Penobscot County doesn't. So let's wait and see what Penobscot County wants to do. And
Make a lot of money, though, they don't get TIFs.
Does that increase the property value by paving?
taxes in the unorganized territories are assessed by Maine Revenue Service. In a normal town that was being assessed, yes, it would increase your property value if you lived on a paved road compared to a gravel road.
Really, you two thinking about doing that, moving ahead and trying to, we're in the property owners?
I think we should, as of right now, I think we should wait and see what Penobscot County wants to do, and then I'll bring it back for you. But I think that's the first step, is see if they'll give us a right of way.
One of those never needs our consent of the land. I mean, whether we approve that or not, we might be doing future generations of service by.
Getting a right of way, yep.
Getting
But I think if we go this, if we start this and they give us a right of way, they're gonna expect something in return.
we can blame more. Seriously, if Penobscot does it, there's no reason for us not to, because we have funding in place.
Right.
If Penobscot doesn't do it, it's silly for us to develop our portion when they can't get across approved section of Penobscot's.
And an example of why we wouldn't do it if Penobscot didn't, is the Stud Mill Road is gated right now. They gate the Stud Mill Road during the season. Because they don't want it rutted out. So the other thing under roads is the paving project. Last meeting, you approved paving the Mountains Ridge Road. And what I'm doing, I'm coming back to you for approval to add the back road onto that. To do two roads instead of just one. Back road needs it. Back road was paved as from Route 9 through to where it turns off to go to Lower Lead Mountain Pond. And we ground it and reclaimed it in 2015. And over the last 10 years, the snowplow has plowed most of that crap out into the ditch.
Now, unlike Mountains Ridge, that road is TIF.
Back road is in the Hancock Wind Diff, yes.
At least two separate contracts, two separate bids, I mean.
No, one bid.
You think that might deter somebody from bidding because they don't want to go to the airline?
I don't think so, because the state is doing a big paving project on Route 9 this summer. I think you might encourage it.
But if the bidder wasn't part of that paving project, why would they want to? I mean, it's like my brother lives in Florida, so I'm gonna try to get the best bidding price, because if I get one contract and over, so it's easy. But it damages it, do both, if he's going to travel the distance. You don't think that's an issue?
I don't think it's gonna be an issue, because I think most of the paving contractors travel all over from all over Eastern Maine.
So do you need our action taken this morning on these,
I would like to have your approval to change the plan from one road to two roads. Paving.
what about
What's the name
the,
of the second road?
Back road.
Back road?
Yes. include that in the paving bid.
I don't know if it's enough to just say to move to expand the paving project to back road.
I'll second that.
A little vague.
What's the other,
I think, yeah, you should say something to add that to the minor.
yeah. So, yeah, just withdraw that motion. I don't know, move to expand Martin's Ridge paving project to back.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. Solid waste, we have three
Excuse
solid,
me, these paving agreements you've given us here, those, we'll discuss that at the time the bids come in, is that it?
yes. That's what I've given you is what this new bid packet is for the two roads.
Yeah.
And that's when the bids come in.
Okay.
There are three solid waste agreements up for renewal this spring. The Ellsworth Transfer Station for Fletcher's Land and for bulky waste. The Ellsworth Transfer Station for use of residents in Township 10, 16, 22, 28, 32, 34, 35, 39, 40, 41. For bulky waste. And general solid waste. And down at Cherryfield Transfer Station for Township 10 solid waste. And I have sent the agreements to the respective town managers and have not heard anything back yet. Fire contracts. Fire
Well,
contracts,
excuse me, I hear seven involved with seven. Township seven,
no, Township 7 is not in that list.
where are they going?
And, part of Township, the Tunk area of Township 7 goes to Sullivan. And the rest of Township 7 is has pickup service provided by Stuban. We have two fire agreements that are up for renewal this spring. The town of Bruceboro, for their coverage of Township 7, and their select board is meeting on the 8th. So we will have that ready for the next meeting, hopefully. And the other one is the Aurora Fire Department. Their agreements here.
Stipulation with regards to Aurora.
The Aurora is the same as last year, no change.
Yes, Aurora, what's your pleasure?
It's the South Fire Agreement.
Fire and EMS, yes.
Yes, it's not on the agenda.
What do you want?
I think it was. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, sorry. Yes, I'm going to move to approve and sign Hancock County Fire Protection Emergency Response Agreement with the Aurora Fire, Altair Fire Department, as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign.
What's that they're doing? What is your feedback? Well, this whole station. Okay, no, anything else from UT?
Yes, the, dangerous building in township. Let's let the fletch line. I had not heard from the people, which is landed, so I contacted, Karen Bolstridge at, EEP. And she hadn't heard anything from them. So I made an arrangement to meet with her next Wednesday at the LUPC meeting. And I'm going to give her copies of all of my data so far. So then I got an email last night from the daughter-in-law. So she followed me. In her email, there is an update from Ashley from AUPC, who doesn't work for AUPC anymore, and Brian Way from the Millinocket office of AUPC. And basically, the guy from Millinocket is saying he would like to meet with them at the site in Fletcher's Lane. And the daughter-in-law is saying, the parents are on their way home. And for me to direct all future correspondence to the parents when they get back to me.
Is that making it difficult for you to deal with Bill Foxborough?
I don't know, I kind of want to wait and talk to Karen Bolstridge because she's higher up in the LUPC and see if we can get back to Bangor LUPC rather than Millinocket.
Millard, which place is it on that road? Because there's a house gone on that road right now. It's gone.
This one's still there.
Okay, because I'm like, what, where'd that one go?
Second one in for the landing.
And you can drive through the unorganized territories and find lots of derelict buildings.
Yeah.
This one resulted from a complaint by an abutter. And it's been a long-standing feud between the
Right.
abutters.
Oh, yeah. No,
It's typical.
I was just wondering if it was the one that's gone, because I was like,
No,
where'd that one go?
the one that's gone is the abutter that complained about the other neighbor.
The DEP is involved because of.
The DEP is not involved,
It's land use.
I mean,
LUPC.
on the LUPC,
because they're the ones that do the permitting.
I see. So it's
And
kind
the
of,
idea was they wanted to get a permit to replace these structures before they tore them down.
it's a wait and see. Right now. Okay, anything else, Willard?
That's all I've got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the airport.
Good morning.
Morning, Leroy. We have your monthly report. Anything to add?
Nope, nope, it's all good.
Need to file the airport monthly report is presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion on the report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And the second item is the renewal of the Hertz agreement for 1 year with a 1 year option.
Any much of any change in that?
Just the rates. We did change the rates, but other than that, the agreement's the same as it was.
When I vote to approve the lease and operating rates agreement between Hancock County and Hertz Corporation as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The last item is, I don't know if you need to take action on it or not. It's just wanted to go over the easement payment process. We've set up a form / checklist to make sure that we get copies of the easements, copy of the consent to grant, the grant from the mortgage holder before we go with the purchase and sales also, before we forward it to the treasurer for payment. So it's really just a checklist of sorts.
You're not asking us to take any action, you're just advising.
I don't really think there's any action needed. I guess that was more of an informational discussion kind of.
How many easements are there in total? Do you know?
There's going to be a total of 11. We've heard from 4. We've heard from 4 already. One is signed. All the paperwork is in order. They're just waiting for their check. Another one, they need to go to the mortgage company and get the consent to grant the easement from. The third one is they have some title in-house stuff they need to take care of. And then the fourth one we just heard from come back with a counter offer, which is going to go. We'll have to counter that, and that one's going to probably volley back and forth a few times before we get anywhere with it. But they're moving along, you know, after how many years now? It started long before I arrived. I've been here 5 years, so it looks like it really might happen.
The other 7 are in negotiation or what?
The other 7 have got their negotiations, we'll call them, or offers, but we haven't heard back from them yet. So that's kind of a wait and see on those.
When do you think you'll send out a letter kind of asking, you know?
Kind of push them along, you mean?
I'm not suggesting it now, but
You know, we've hired, of course, Jacob's hired this company, Aura Colon, who is doing all of the negotiations for us. So he's pretty well on top of it. This thing has really started to really move in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I would suspect that, you know, we may hear from some of those others in the next month or less. So,
thanks.
and we can't go for a grant on this now. We've already told the FAA we wouldn't ask for a grant in 25 to pay for this, so we'll end up having to wait for 26 anyway to reimburse us.
Okay, anything else, Leroy?
Oh no, I think that'll do it.
All right, but thank you very much.
Thanks.
Moving on to emergency management. We had their report. So, anything else? Andy, if you're there, anything to add to your report?
I do not, thank you.
I'm gonna move to accept and file the EMA monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Dale, good morning, Jim.
One. Couple things to bring him back, but, first, request to remove Sean Killen from county payroll, he was part-time officer, we have been for a long time.
All right, I'm gonna move to remove Sean Kilman from the county payroll.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Request to accept the resignation of Colton Tibbetts effective April 18, 2025, he moved on to another job.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded.
I'll second
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
that. Aye.
And then we get to a request approval for the jail administration employee to follow the jail's collective bargaining agreement, Article 33, to sell off sick time in the same manner as the contract dates.
Gentlemen, you understand the issue? This is a little brief update on what that means.
In the contract, there's an agreement made with the commission and the union, bargaining unit, that allows individuals in the union to sell off twice a year comp time if they have over 100 hours on the books. Sick time on the books. They can sell down to 100 hours. We just see the jail administration can follow that same.
That's not in non-union,
No,
non-union provision.
it's a possibility of following that.
This is somewhat related to the next issue. And my overall comment is that, and Michael has reminded us several times, I'm not doing the same thing every time he tells us, but every time we make an exception like this, we affect the integrity of the policy because we're making an exception in that policy for one group of policy that covers a number of people. So I'd like to put this on hold for a minute. Let's talk about the next one, Tim, and maybe come back to this in a minute. If we could, gentlemen, is it okay? Moving on to the next one. If you look, I'm handing my counterparts a copy of the non-union 2025 pay scale. And I'm also giving you, I'll give you a breakdown of Wayne Cross and Shep's recent history in their salaries. I say recent history because you're talking about 2 years ago, or last year, a request was made to mirror with Shep and Cross the percentage increase for them that the union employees enjoyed for that fiscal year. We heard that request made, and Michael commented then that if we do this, we're going to affect the integrity of the non-union scale because that percentage doesn't peg them into any place on the scale. And as a result, if you look at the wage scale, you'll see that last year we had to develop I call it a 0.1. Somewhere between that scale they were on and the next scale, and so on. Nevertheless, we did it. Now, the same request is being made again this year. And once again, Michael said it's going to affect the scale because they're off the scale. Now, I don't know, for me, maybe you gentlemen completely understood the implications of that, but it wasn't until I looked at the scale and it sunk in exactly what he means. That we have non-union employees on a wage scale, and that we're applying a certain benefit to them, maybe there's a good reason for it. We're applying a benefit for them the rest of the people on that scale did not enjoy. Consequently, it pulled them off the scale, caused them to have their own pay scale, if you will, which is the .1. The other thing it dawned on me is that we applied this to employees who A, enjoyed the annual COLA, B, enjoyed an occasional step increase. And so when we gave them the additional adjustment to mirror the union, it's almost like triple dipping. If they got a step increase that financial year, they got the COLA, step increase, and the union. And I think that was a mistake. I think the fact that they're on the scale means they enjoy periodic step increases based upon the time. And they enjoy the COLA that we apply to everybody. And that adjustment for mirroring the union should be limited to those people who are not on the scale. And so if I could turn the clock back and realize what we had done, I would have been in opposition to doing that last year. And I think we need to correct the mistake. The mistake is developing a .1. I think what we need to do is get these people back onto the non-union, regular non-union scale instead of a .1 scale, and do away with a .1 and kind of commit ourselves in the future to limiting any adjustments made to mirror the union increase to those who are not on the scale. And you have a memo from Josh, our HR director and whatnot, basically says the same thing, they should be getting back on to the regular scale. That's Josh's main point there. He has a couple of suggestions on how to do this, but I'd like to suggest we have an opportunity this year to do this ourselves, to correct this, get them back onto the scale and still give them some consideration for the request that Tim has made. And what I'd suggest is that we do a grade increase on both of them. So in other words, Wayne Cross would go from a 10, in his case it's a 10.1, to an 11 because his actual right now is off the 10 scale. His actual is 33.23. And if we were to put him back on the scale, he'd actually take a decrease in his present pay, which I don't think is fair. But if we moved him to an 11 and put him on L, then he'd get a modest increase from what he's getting right now, but he wouldn't get the full 3% that Tim is asking. I'd also propose for Shep that we elevate him from grade 14 to 15. His actual right now is $40.61. And if we put him onto a 15 scale, we could put him on K, which is a 20 cent increase. Wouldn't take any money away from him, but it would get him back onto the scale. So we would create a new grade, grade 15. And elevate both of these one grade and get them back on and do away with the .1 scale. Now, I talked to Josh about this, and Josh is doing a salary study right now, and it could be that we have a better sense of where they should be after he's done this. And at first I said that has merit, except that if that scale for some reason showed that they were being overpaid, certainly not going to take any money away from them. And if it says they're being underpaid, they would get some kind of an increase, which my proposal gives them. So I don't think by taking this action today that we're really defeating the work that Josh is going to do as far as determining what their rate of pay should be. And it may turn out that despite the fact we gave them some modest increase today, Josh's study research could indicate that they should be even more. Then we can deal with that at the time. So my goal today is to remedy what I call a clear mistake, and we were warned 2 years in a row by Michael that we should consider the error that we're making, that we correct that, get them back onto the non-union scale, and get this behind us and still give Tim some respect to the request he was making.
So if I can add this real quick, so I did go back and kind of look at this historically after seeing what was submitted this weekend. And I guess just a couple points for either clarification or just acknowledgement, so your consideration when you factor this in. So back in that 2017, 2018 period, the 10 and 14 scales, there was actually a vote taken back in 2018, I think it was, by the commission to essentially give an additional compensation as a result of changes that were being made at the time. So that 10.1 and 14.1 actually pulled the jail members off on those two lines. So they've been off for a while.
It didn't just happen last year?
So, but in the last year, the difference is what happened is they were granted additional pay that didn't fit with the scale. So Monica and I kept the scales what they were, because you hadn't changed the scales. I mean, you took no action to that. They just were given the compensation equal with what had been requested as part of the budget. So technically, the jail's been off that scale for a while. So if you do move them back, then I guess that's part of the question, I guess. So it's not necessarily like for like, you're moving them back into that scale. So I want to make sure everybody understands. You're effectively doing away with the 0.1s or A, because back at the time when that was done, the first year, it was referred to as A, and then that became 0.1s, I guess. So if you do make that change right now, you're effectively eliminating those two lines right now and tending it back to what would be the scale that's there, which 14.1 that you proposed moving up, I'm assuming if I understood you correctly, Commissioner Clark, is the 5.4% increase to 15, correct?
Correct.
So that really is still based off of 14.1. So somehow we have to also adjust to make sure that that you're keeping with that.
Well, excuse me, Michael, it was my intent to do away with 0.1. Are you opposed to do it?
Well, what I'm saying is that the scale that the 14.1 scale, the one that you're proposing to move to 15, you can do away with it, but then we're doing the 15 scale now is based off 14.1. So if you're doing the 5.4% grade increase off in 14 and putting everybody back on a 1 scale, it's not really a 5.4 year rate.
Excuse me, I don't understand. The number I gave you for 15, thought I computed at 5.4 over 14.
And that's what I'm trying to make sure is correct.
Yes, I computed the scale you have in front of you that I'm proposing that we place step on. Grade 15 is a 5.4 increase over 14.
Not 14.1, right?
Pardon?
And off of 14.
No, it wasn't off of 14.1, it's off of 14.
Okay.
But you're pulling them off 14.1 and put back.
Right, and that's,
So, and again, so the impact there is still, you're taking them off the scales that were there. I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying, so make sure everybody's clear that these two scales that have existed since 1819 effectively in and of themselves are going away, and you're plugging people back into the new scale along with the addition of the 15. That's essentially what you're trying to
that's
do.
exactly what my purpose was to do. Because if we get the same request from another non-union entity, they don't get the scale, now we've got another 0.1 to deal with. And after a while, you end up certain people within the non-union, in the non-union wage scale, have their own wage scale, which is what Shep and Cross have right now, is their own wage scale. They have their own independent wage scale for that. Now, if we want an individual, a classification to have its own wage scale. We should take it off there. We should identify a wage and then apply increases to that, like we do the chief deputy and department heads and those others who are non-exempt, who are exempt, not on a wage scale. If we want these two positions to be on a wage scale, then they should go back onto the standard wage scale that we have. And
So I agree with the logic. I'm not, yeah, that's why I'm saying, I just want to make sure everybody understands for the record, discussing it. So 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, somebody goes back and looks at this again, they know what essentially it is that you're both doing. And make sure that you know what you're both doing as well. The other question I just have is normally, so you're proposing moving somebody from up a grade. Normally, we would score that position or positions to, just to make sure that there's a change, which there may be, but we haven't done. So again, for consistency's sake, same thing with going from 14 to 15. I think probably the argument could be clear that Shepherd's job as the administrator, assistant jail administrator would obviously probably likely build it up as well, but we haven't technically done that.
using the 15-point criteria to score it?
Well, I mean, that's presumably what you would do if you're looking to change, because we'll have to go back and change the job descriptions for these as well, obviously. And update where the positions would fall and all that.
Because we haven't used that 15-point criteria for years. We tried to explore that, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago. It didn't go anywhere. We never used it. And
I don't
I
disagree
feel
with,
it's the fact today that very many people know how to use that.
but that is the issue that we're gonna be getting ourselves into, or you're getting yourself into, I should say, because now, what is it that you're making these decisions on? And if I was somebody else, like now working at the airport on those similar levels, I'm gonna come back to you and say, hey, I just saw you put the jail people back. I'm on this scale, how come I'm not at 11 or 12? And then HR has to answer those questions. So I mean, that's why I'm trying to make sure we've thought about all this now before we get ourselves in a position where we keep going further and further down a rabbit hole. And I don't disagree with your concept of what you're trying to do. I'm just saying, make sure that we know what we're doing.
Well, I say that the justification for what we're doing today, first of all, it isn't significant. But it solves a problem, and we could justify it better than we could a simple request to increase it because the union people got it. You know, Shep and Cross are not represented by the union, and yet they want the benefits of the union without joining the union or being in the union. And I think somewhere along that way, said, you know, they're a non-union and they have policies, they're a union and they have policies, and we should, you know, the two should never meet.
I don't disagree with anything that you guys are discussing up there, except for since you're talking about the pay scale. I worked with both of those people 21 years ago, so all I want to add is you need to go beyond L because they're both, Cross is already maxed out and Shep will be at a full-time status, and I know that their job is very intense. So I think to do the other half of it, put something beyond L, because otherwise, what do they have to look forward to? Cost of living.
They're looking forward to getting the top pay. They have worked all these years for a goal, which is the top pay. Now they're getting it. You know, we've heard this argument, I don't know how many times over the years, when somebody reaches the top, oh, I get some COLA. No, you are getting the benefit of the top pay. This is the most we pay anybody in that classification. But Julie, having said all that and whatnot, I believe that Josh will answer that question when he gets the results of his survey and a lot of those answers. He'll be able to address some of those. Don't you think, Josh?
Yeah, so just to add to that really quick, the benefits of the county salary survey is not just for the jail employees. It's gonna show us county-wide. Are we underpaying employees by each position? Are we adequately paying them? Or do we need to increase them? So in my recommendation, I didn't say no that we shouldn't. I think we should delay this a month or two until we have more information Because it may be possible that we're not giving them enough compensation based on what other counties are paying their administrators.
I agree with Josh, that I think at this point, we're not that far off from the survey. I mean, and I forget, is the request for this to be retro, right?
That was gonna be up, yes, that was gonna be a decision.
But I don't know, I don't think at this point, waiting another 4 to 6 weeks is gonna make that much of a difference before we screw the pooch. Yeah. Change this and then we look at it after we got the survey, we're like, oh, well, okay, bump it a bit. Oh, we overdid it on this one. So I just think we should hold off. There's support for it to happen in some degree. But I think we should just like let the process play out.
Well, can we commit ourselves though to trying to deal with this 0.1? I mean, for 2 years in a row, Mike was warned us against what the effects of that is. And, you know, getting, because again, what we're doing is giving them their own unique pay scale. And
I agree that we should be all getting along, so we should get rid of this unique. But I think we should just hold on horses until the wage survey is done. So we can have a more comprehensive look at everything. Roll it all over, argue about it, be upset with each other all the time. Rather than feeling out.
Sam, what do you want to do? Before you answer, Sam, do you know what the 3% amounts? You wanted 3% additional, is that what it turned out to be?
That's what I'm looking to do, a 3% would have been.
You know what 3% would have added to?
It would have been pretty close to what on the proposal now. that's on
You
the-
don't have that, you don't have the number.
I do, 4182 for Shepherd,
4182,
and
cross is
3423.
so doing nothing, cross will not give us $1.12 more an hour. Sam, and, I mean, Shep will not get $1.20. And Cross would get $1. He's not gonna get $1 increase, so we're talking about $1.24 and $1 for the other per hour.
If we eliminate point ones.
Well, if we do nothing today, we're denying Tim's request for the additional 3%. And that means one of them would not get an additional $1.20, the other one would not get an additional $1. That's the impact of not doing anything today. And I'm considering that $40 and $33, I don't think $1 an hour is going to make a big deal if we wait another 6 weeks, as John suggested.
Let's say we're not gonna do something, we're gonna do something. Committed to doing something, committed to fixing the wage scale. But let's just give it one more time.
Okay, I think by general consensus, Tim, we're just gonna put the whole thing off. Now, getting back to item C though. Do you want to approve that policy for the jail administrative staff? That policy is that they're simply allowed to accept a sick leave.
How is this, just out of curiosity, since I don't know, how is this policy different than the policy for the regular? If I,
There used to be a policy, there's none anymore.
The difference is that the union employees are able to sell back a portion of unused sick leave at the end of the year, and the administrative staff isn't. They're asking to have simply the same benefit applied to them, which is interesting because staff uses up so much sick time. They don't have a lot, but the administrative staff doesn't. You know, so they have a lot of sick time to sell back. So there isn't going to be a dollar number attached to this, because when the administrative staff takes a day off, nobody replaces them. And so there's no cost of them having a day off, as opposed to a corrections officer that takes the day off, they can be replaced in time and a half. So if the three administrative positions sell back a portion of the sick time at the end of the year, there is a true increase in the cost of that benefit, because every hour they sell back is not an hour that we would pay somebody else if they had been home sick. That's the only issue.
Do any of the other collective bargaining agreements have a policy that they can buy back? If so, sell their sick time on the administrative side.
Oh, absolutely.
The administration is the highest ranking member of the sheriff's collective bargaining unit, and they can sell theirs.
Which I can't sell.
Yeah, everybody in the union contract is in the unit can sell.
Not like Bob.
Bob's an exempt, non-union.
So essentially by approving this, unless you vote to expand it to everybody, it's for those three positions. And then we would have to obviously codify that policy so that it's there going forward.
Sounds like another can of worms getting overdone. I'd love to be like, oh, yeah, sell it back. I don't know.
Well, we have been guilty this sin with these good intentions of addressing individual requests without considering the impact of everybody. Sometimes we even said that, we still did it. As John said, once again, this is what we're doing this time, we're addressing a particular group. The justification is that everybody they worked with up there gets the salaries back. Why shouldn't they?
It reduces the cost.
The aggravating factor is that nobody else in their personnel, that group, in their personnel policy can sell theirs. Do we want to open it up to everybody? Or are you prepared to address that if you get? I'm going to suggest that we take this under advisement and perhaps we'll bring this up again when we talk about. I don't think we're prepared to take action on this.
Sure.
Let's hold off on these.
And then we have interviews this week, we're gonna have our open positions full. And we have some part-time staff waiting for full-time, so hopefully by end of the month, we'll be fully staffed up there with our supervisors and line staff.
That's a kiss of death, isn't it?
Here we are. Thank you.
We need a break. We need a break. Just a minute, I won't be accused of not watching you. Get this done.
Paper straight.
Yeah, let's get this straight. Okay, welcome, good morning.
I just wanted to take a few moments to discuss the cruiser cameras today. It's a topic that we've discussed a few times over the last couple of years, the last year and a half particularly. I know you guys had received the document that I provided in advance of the meeting to basically provide a synopsis of that. This was something that we had began working on a little over a year ago now, under the guise of ARPA funding, when we discovered that there was a need to replace our cruiser cameras, which are the cameras outfitted in our cruisers. They capture traffic stops, different incidents that we deal with, the audio, the video, and so forth. It's used for accountability purposes, criminal prosecution purposes, public accountability and so forth. So at that time, about a year ago, we advised the commissioners that the current system that we're operating, that we had been operating for an extended period of time, several years, the brand was Motorola Watchdog. We were stopping manufacturing the current model of camera that we had. We're no longer going to be making parts, so that would prohibit our ability to repair those cameras as they failed. Motorola, similarly to other camera brands, are and have swapped to an online cloud-based version. I think it hurts the consumer a little bit as far as cost, but I think as far as the business strategy goes, it's probably wise on their part. With that being said, we do have 14 frontline cruisers at the moment. And out of those 14, we have 5 cruiser cameras that are fully functional. We have 7 that are partially functional and 2 that have no cameras at all. So we presented this proposal last year. At that time, Commissioner Clark suggested that we hold off making a decision due to the fact that there was the possibility for federal funding. Reasonably so, I think that makes sense. Unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately, we were granted or awarded that in the fall, and then it was part of the federal budget due to congressional spending. That's how it was going to be funded. When President Biden did not sign that federal funding, and it was turned over to President Trump, during that time, when the federal budget was being reworked, that was cut from the federal funding. So it left us past the point of being able to budget for it without the federal funding to be able to purchase cameras. And it's kind of left us, for lack of better words, between a rock and a hard place as far as not having cruiser cameras in some cruisers and having them failing or continuing to fail without any ability to fix them.
And Dakota, I'll add also, I was part of this last year. And the server that does the WatchGuard system expired a year ago. And we no longer have maintenance or support for that system, and we can't get it because, like you said, it's an old model. So we are stuck as well on the server side.
So this is something that I had put a couple, I guess, options together to present to you. You know, I had spoken with Commissioner Clark previously about this. You know, to say that this is emergent, I think it's kind of subjective for me to be able to do. I just want to provide to you the position that we're in, the current number of cruisers that we have, the operational units that we have, and basically provide these different options to say that, you know, this is kind of where we're at. If you look at other agencies around us, Ellsworth, Harvest, Southwest, Bucksport, they've all made that switch over to the cloud-based cameras in the last probably 18 months or so. And with that being said, there's a couple different brands out there that are, I guess, popular. You have Motorola, you have G-Tech that's increasingly becoming more popular around the area. Augusta PD, for example, just swapped to that as well. Each have, I guess, their own benefits, as outlined in the documents that I provided you. Our position would simply be to proceed with G-Tech for a few of the reasons stated. As far as that's our laptops, they do interface with each other. There's operational costs. I mean, looking at that from a budgetary standpoint, as far as moving forward and budgeting year in, year out, that's also something that certainly is appealing to us as far as the operational costs and so forth. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I wanted to provide that to you, provide the proposals as far as what my proposal today would be is to purchase the 9 cruiser cameras with the quote that was provided. And the reason for that is that would at least allow our frontline cruisers to have operational cameras and then budget for expanding or replacing any cameras beyond that. But that would at least, again, provide our frontline cruisers with operational camera and audio systems.
What's the life expectancy supposed to be, like cameras, do you know, what you're supposed to get out of them?
So they do come with a 5-year full warranty. So you have at least obviously 5 years guaranteed. I will say that with our existing cameras, I think we have some that are as old as probably 8 years, 9 years or so. So we have seen, you know, I guess extended life on them. I do think that, I mean, like I had mentioned, all these camera brands, they're swapping to the cloud-based services. And with that comes the storage. So there's not that server in-house. It's the cloud-based storage. You have like a yearly licensing fee per camera. That's the operational cost that I referenced.
So is that in the, when we look at the $70,000 or so there for the 9, does that include that?
That includes the operational costs to get us through to the end of the year and into the next January, at which point we would budget the operational costs.
Do you have any idea offhand what the operational costs are, like yearly?
Yes, yeah, so looking for example, if you are looking for the 9, I can tell you what that operational cost would be. So for the 9 cruiser cameras. Just one moment. Just going through a series of emails here. For 9 cameras for a year, I'd have to circle back around to it. Oh, it's right here. I'd have to circle back around to it. If I recall, it was approximately about $10,000, or it was roughly less than that for the year. I'll continue to look for it. I do have it in email.
And so the only thing I don't see in the proposal is how are we gonna pay for it?
Yeah, so obviously that is the catch, right? And so yeah, so that's obviously the issue. And so I wish I had a bag of money, obviously, and I think that's gonna be the crutch of the issue here. I don't know what our ability for community benefit funds or TIP funds look like or anything like that. I do know that obviously, like I had mentioned, where it was something that was planned to be utilized for federal funding. When that went away, that was past the point. I mean, that was this year, that was just a month and a half ago. So obviously it was way beyond our ability to ever build a budget for that as well. So we don't have it in our budget to be able to do it either. It's something that I guess that's also why I'm bringing it to your attention now. I don't know if there's different things that we can look at different avenues. But if we do not do anything, it's just the problem is just going to continue further down the road. And I mean, obviously, we'd be looking at even more of a substantial cost rather than doing it in pieces as our equipment fails. So, I mean, obviously, that's kind of why I bring it to you. I don't know what those funds look like or if there are any funds available.
Well, Dakota and I disagreed on a number of things over the last recently and whatnot, but this is one that we both have unequivocally assured is an absolute necessity, is this video camera system. It's truly unfortunate that they lost their funding on the grant because had we known what was going to happen, we could purchase this with ARPA funds, that's behind us, and it's just a lot more so on. We could have predicted that was going to happen, but it did. And we've got to deal with that issue. Funding is the big issue. We've always relied on CBA for a lot of issues, you know, to help us with emergency issues like this. But right now, we have a project ongoing where the CBA is the only funds we have for making sure that project comes to fruition and gets paid for, and that's our AOC building. we shouldn't be tapping into that until we know that we have met our requirement for that. From what little I have garnished over looking into this since I knew it was coming up, it seems to me, Dakota, that the majority, especially in this area or in this region, doing Motorola and not getting away from that and whatnot. I would think there would be a benefit in that. First of all, you have a tech that's familiar with the region. Second of all, you have agencies who are you're able to consult with for information and share information and so on. And also, I like some of the features that have been offered to some of these agencies. One of them, I think, fits us to a T, and that is the fact that they will lease purchase over 5 years, a complete system for us. And not only lease purchase, but they will give us a lowball first year price. And then pay for the balance in 4 equal payments for the last 4 years, which that could meet our demand here today with no funding. And because I gotta tell you, 70, 100,000 is stretching what we should be doing with CPA funds. But if we could talk to Motorola, devise a system, and it's gonna take 3 or 4 months to put a system together, because I'm talking about a complete system. I'm talking about uniform cameras, I'm talking about cruiser cameras, I'm talking about interfacing with Spillman, I'm talking about all the features that we should be getting into this camera system. So I'm saying, take our time, do it right, get it done, and whatnot. And going through Motorola, which has a good track record in this region and whatnot, I think we could get that, and we could get a funding package that we could live with whereby we lowball it with a $25,000 payment in Labor Day, and then January 1st, make the first of 4 years of the balance of those payments. And so I'd like to suggest, gentlemen, first of all, I'm not sure that we can take G-Tech without some sole source information, and I don't see how they can be considered sole source without bidding the projects. But I do think that we could make that argument with Motorola, given the fact that they're regionally used by so many agencies and whatnot. And they offer a system, the kind of package, funding and service package that really make a good comprehensive package for the SO and funding package for us. And I'd like to make a suggestion that we allow the sheriff's department to go back, sit down with a representative from the sales department of Motorola, put together a complete package, body cameras, cruiser cameras, interfaces, and everything, and get a funding package in place and bring that back to us and see what that looks like.
If G-Tech could do the same thing, would that be a possibility to review?
I don't know how we'd have to go to bid if you want G-Tech back there, we're gonna have to go to bid. I don't see how we could consider them sole source. I do think, given the fact that so many agencies are using Motorola, it's so prevalent in the area, we could make that case, straight face case with Motorola. We can't make G-Tech. I have no preference. I only, I don't know a lot about G-Tech, and the information I got when I started checking into it was mostly on Motorola, because that's what everybody has. State police has it,
Yeah.
And so I'm suggesting, if you see it Motorola can't provide your needs, that's a good reason to go to G-Tech, but if they can, and if the features that I've offered are available, funding, interfaces, base and all this, then why not? Why not?
That makes sense.
That Flex is Motorola,
Pardon?
and Flex is Motorola, so. Our Spillman Flex server, that is by Motorola, so it integrates with it.
All the more reason we should.
If I may, this is just a document that was previously provided last year when we were talking about the cruiser cameras. It's just, it kind of gives a little bit of a breakdown between the two. And what you'll see is your only concern or not necessarily concerned, the only thing I would bring to your attention that is I guess it is a concern for us as far as when we do the budget for the sheriff's office, is quite honestly, I don't have any problem with Motorola WatchGuard. We looked at both systems, for the reason that I had presented you GTAC, was primarily because we found that GTAC was offering, it had all the same capabilities, but really one of the things that I guess appealed to myself and the rest of the administration as far as the budgetary purposes was the operational costs. So like, for example, you'll see that it was going to be approximately, well, it was exactly half for the operational cost for the cloud storage, sustaining costs. And so that's one thing looking forward every year as far as budgeting goes, that I would just draw your attention to. I mean, ultimately, if you want to sit down with Motorola, I have no problem doing that. It's just from the budgetary standpoint, looking ahead each year, that was just a point of consideration, that's all.
This was, so this, when you created this document, it was a year ago, right?
It was.
So we probably want to update it anyway, because.
Yes.
Well, I think that could be part of the bargaining of purchasing that is perhaps identifying the operational cost for the duration of that 5-year lease, because it's a lease purchase, you only at the end of 5 years. And, tell them that cut the best deal you can.
And there's the other, does Kentucky have, if they do like a lease program or anything along those lines?
I don't, I can certainly inquire and, I mean, I can certainly inquire, but I guess I just don't know if it gets to the point where, like Commissioner Clark said, as far as, do we just put it out to bid, say, if a lease is what you're interested in, or like I guess regardless, it's a lease, whether you want to look at it like a payment plan or not, but that's what we're open to. Give us your best bottom dollar as far as what you can provide. I mean, we're certainly open to that. I don't know. I just, like I said, the reason why I had initially looked at GTAC is because we sat down with them, looked at their services, and we found that they were comparable to Motorola, but ultimately one thing that was appealing was the operational costs. And if we can sit down and with Motorola and GTAC and say, hey, what's the best number you can come up with to include the operational costs for a lease program, and we'll do that.
I just have to wonder though, there's so many agencies going Motorola.
Yeah.
Why didn't they consider the operational cost? Is there something else that makes Motorola that popular? I don't have, that's not a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer, but I have to tell myself that how can that many people be as unsavvy as you claim to be with regards to the operational cost in the future? And
Right.
so anyways,
Yeah, well, I guess just to speak on that real quick. So I think GTAC was more out west, in my understanding. Augusta, like I said, they just swapped the GTAC for that same reason. In comparison, they went from Motorola to GTAC, I believe, for that reason. Now you're exactly right, obviously, with the Motorola, I believe that's what Ellsworth has, Bar Harbor, Bucksport. Southwest has Axon, which is a different company altogether, but quite honestly, they're far more expensive, and you can't use federal funding for them right now anyway, if we were to ever get any, which is why I wouldn't propose that, because of the price point, but also because it's a China-based company, so you can't use any federal dollars for it, so we'd be kind of pigeonholing ourselves there. But yeah, no, I think that Motorola has been regionally in this area longer than GTAC. But I do think that GTAC is a comparable brand, but ultimately, if it's something that you're willing to consider, we'll go with whatever brand and put it up.
Sure, another feature is too, that there is a good chance, and Andy has once again applied for this.
Right.
And I think probably this will happen again, but he'll get his grant approved, whether or not it gets defunded again, that's the question. I think he stands as good a chance getting it approved initially as he did last time. But in any event, if he was successful in getting it approved, and if he was successful in getting it funded, Motorola would allow the county to cancel the lease and simply purchase the equipment.
And that's a big factor, because if we, GTAC says, no, we've got a 5-year lease, you're bound by that, and we do get federal funds, we can't use it.
Right,
But with Motorola, we could.
that makes sense.
Sure, I mean, that's a big factor, because for $25,000, if that's what we can do for base price in this year, and then Andy gets his funding, you know, that's all we've spent.
Right.
So,
No, I mean, I think that makes sense financially. I mean, with your permission, I would go back, I would sit down with both of them, and I mean, it may be as simple as if, you know, GTAC can't do a lease thing, okay, then it's just Motorola type of deal. I mean, whatever financially would make sense, I think is the best proposal, but I don't know that, you know, without sitting down and talking to both of them, hey, can you do this? Can you work on the operational cost type of deal? I don't know how we could get to that point, but I'm happy to sit down and have that conversation with them. I mean, obviously, it sounds like Motorola can do that lease, and that if that's a viable option, then
we just get more information. You said you think we should. I would like to see us do that. I'd like to just so and develop a full comprehensive package for everything.
Okay.
Body cameras and cruiser cameras, and make sure the interface, you know, so that.
what, as far as coming up with that package, I guess to save, you know, some time and submitting several different proposals, one thing that I would like to include, but I guess I'll just get your stance on right now, would be easiest, is that, speaking of the jail, they would like to outfit their 2 transport vans as far as when they're transporting inmates to and from hospitals and the prison and so forth, or other facilities. What would your position be on that? Because I would, if you're in support of that, I would include that all in one package.
But you're gonna be talking about, how many crews, 14 total?
14 is what we currently have on our front line.
So you'll be talking, your new comprehensive package would outfit 14 cruisers or more.
So ultimately what that, I mean, it would be 14. If I added the jail, it'd be 16. Ultimately, I would propose at least doing 15 for the sheriff's office. And the reason that being is because obviously we have a vacant position now. Once that's filled, then that 14 now goes to 15 type of deal. So rather than keep chasing the issue, so I mean, I'd be looking at anywhere from, we have 17 budgeted patrol positions and 2 jail transport vans, 19 total.
Well, 2 additional is, I won't call it insignificant, but it's not like double the price, so I mean.
I guess I'd like to look for a package of 19.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to. You have to understand what the purpose of it is. For example, a lot of what they do with cameras is, for example, if the video records something that ultimately is involved in prosecution, then that video would be sent to the DA's office and used for that. I don't know what you would see in a transportation ban short of making sure that they didn't get mistreated by the corrections officer.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the transportation van, our thought was simply that we wouldn't outfit those units with cruiser, with body cameras. That would just be the cruiser camera itself with a mic pack, simply for the purpose of really just liability. And I think that, you know, if you're already putting a package together for 17 or whatever it may be, to add 2, I don't know, I think that might be beneficial, but ultimately I'll leave that to you guys. It just, to be able to have a kind of a stance one way or the other would help, rather than getting several different quotes, just to
Yeah, my personal preference is you do for 17, we'll figure out where they go, when, if you can come up with a package. Scott, you had something you want to say?
I was just gonna say, reiterate what he just said, the liability issue, and I can think of 2 issues. With personnel complaints came into me from, patrol, and I viewed the video cameras on both of those, and they were just absolutely ridiculous. What they were sending in was a complaint, was unfounded. There was nothing that they alleged in their complaint that the deputy did. So I think liability, I think we all know there's people lined up from here to wherever to
That
source for
was
something.
my point, is that they're probably not going to be involved in any kind of prosecution with a camera, but it could be save us on the liability issue later. So because we're only adding 2 more to either 15 or 17, it's not that great an issue. So yes, let's do it. I say yes. What do you say, gentlemen?
Yeah, okay, figure that in your thing, and I figured 17 units.
So that, if with figuring those two in, so if you do all the budget patrol positions, two jail transport vans, you're at 19. Is that?
No, we got two positions there that's in dispute. We're gonna have a discussion sometime this spring or this summer, on whether or not those two positions are really gonna ever exist, so. I don't think that's significant right now, the number, it's what this package is going to include. You know, build your package, build your package. And what it's gonna include, what it does, and at some point we'll talk about how many.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
So moving along. Maintenance, morning Dennis.
Good morning.
Do you have your report, anything to add, Dennis?
No,
Move to accept and file the EMA. I'm sorry. Move to file the maintenance report as presented.
Okay with that?
Oh, a second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You'll see first, gentleman, a request for a transfer in the amount of 5,500. This would cover the storm damage on Building D at the Hancock site, and also make up for a shortfall on some of the other work that we've done with respect to closing in the gable end down there and development of file storage. And,
I'm gonna move to approve the transfer in the amount of $5,500 for storm damage repair on Building D and repairs on Building C at the Hancock site.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And I have a copy of the, Monica made up the transfer in advance, if you have it there, or,
For the same request?
yes.
For the same request.
I'm gonna move to approve and sign the transfer sheet for the transfer of $5,500 from G1-3011-00 to R06-92.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen. I'll further request that the commission accept the resignation of James Avery, effective May 2, 2025.
This position is what?
It's a part-time janitor position.
I'm going to accept the resignation of James Avery effective May 2, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All set?
Oh, yeah.
Morning, Bob.
Morning.
We have your report. Anything to add?
No, just, business is picking up as usual this time of year. Staff had a couple of critical incidents they dealt with. And working on some weekends, so I'll offset those.
Move to accept and file the RCC monthly report as presented.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Bob. You're gonna be around? Yeah. Stick around. Go ahead. Are you representing or Chuck?
Sure. Okay. But the policies that have been proposed represent several activities and some baseline, basic things that we've got to get into the flow. Unfortunately, because again, the office didn't exist, these are things that would be in play already. Clean desk just talks about our responsibility to protect the confidential and personal information of the people around us. So don't leave them lying out on your desk. When you leave the room, make sure that you put them in a safe place so that people can't just walk in and see it. It's stuff that we're doing already, but now it's just connotated in the policy. The next one is training. It was ridiculous. That took me 7 months and 20 attempts to get the annual training for cybersecurity. That should have been done in 5 meetings and should have been done very quickly. It proposes that the management be involved in the training so that everybody is available for that. Because again, I was hunting people down, setting special time, people weren't showing up, and it's like, that does me no good, waste my time, and then sets us behind. Training is important because our government funding is based on it. No longer can we just say that we're doing well or just do something else. Everything is moving to securing the information, and we just got to do it. What was the other one?
Camera.
The cameras. The camera was in response to the lawsuit that was brought against Aroostook County. So we made our camera policy.
It was not the county,
Wasn't the county?
it was the whole police department.
It was the whole police department. Okay, so in response to that lawsuit, we decided to CYA and make sure that we had a policy in place. If somebody came and asked, there you go, we've got that covered.
Sieges.
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 Sieges is the-
Spam response, we've been getting a lot of spam. People have always been getting that, now you're getting it on your phone. You're getting the one from Florida, Easy Pass and all the rest of that, email, it's all spam. When we get spam, there's certain responsibilities on our part. Especially if we fall for it, we've got to alert people and let them know that an incident has happened. Then we've got to reach out to outside agencies and the cities and let them know, if you see an email from us, please contact us and let us know, and we'll verify whether you're being attacked or not. Because once they steal our addresses, even though we post them online and they're available for the public to be discovered, they take those addresses and use them for nefarious purposes. So we're letting everybody know, if you see something bust, please contact us again. Sieges security policy, just reinforcing the criminal justice information system that the FBI puts forth, especially for the sheriff's department because of all the data, the RCC because of the data that they interface with, because they do contact the FBI database. And there are certain standards that they require. These same standards could be applied to the county side. And so with certain exceptions, the county should be following the same thing, and it makes it easier for everybody because we're all on the same page.
All right. We'll now move to approve the camera policy. As presented.
I'll second that.
For discussion, Sheriff, have you seen these 5 policies?
I have not.
The only comment I had back to IT is that, of course, we are prohibited from giving direct or indirect orders to the sheriff's subordinates. It's important that if we're going to make this mandatory for everybody in Hancock County, that you can sign on and agree that you will enforce the policy. And without that, and I refer back, this has really been an issue. If you remember that a few years ago, we had a no smoking policy on campus grounds. Well, we at the jail couldn't comply with that because we didn't want our corrections officers going out to the sidewalk to take a break. We had to have it closer to the jail, and so that was a case of where the countywide policy could not be enforced within the jail. I'm just curious if there's anything in here that you're saying that you cannot enforce that we should know about.
If, we work very well with IT. They're very accommodating. If they get those policies to me, I'll review them very quickly and run them by my command staff and get back with it.
Well, I guess we'll have to do that after the fact because you haven't seen when we really need to take action on this today. So I guess we'll approve these as written. You've got to review these. If you have an issue with some of them, go back to IT and see whether or not they need to come back to us for amendment. Okay?
I can do that.
In the future, should I word these to initially just cover the county first and then make copies for the jail and for?
My suggestion was that you omit anything specifically saying the sheriff's department, but you do include all county employees.
Okay,
That way, in hopes that the sheriff follows suit. But on the same token, we're not giving a direct order to the sheriff's department. That's what he said. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, move to approve the CJIS security policy.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Move to approve the clean desk policy.
I'll second that.
Now, this is the only one, I guess, I don't say. We have laptops on the thing. These have to be locked up now?
They should be locked up, but the only people that have access to this room is through that door. That is a security barrier, but to be completely honest, they really should be in either in a cabinet or someplace where they can be secured.
Dennis, do we have a lock drawer here? I see I have a lock. Do we
Bottom one.
have a key? Well, okay.
I do.
I may have one. I take mine home with me, so.
Your key, it's every,
I think they're all the same.
well, yeah, a lock. Okay, that's my comment. All right,
Keeps honest people out.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll move to approve the spam response policy.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'm gonna move to approve the training compliance policy.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners, for the time.
Josh, still here? Been here all morning, left.
All right, we should accept and file human resources monthly reports.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have bills and warrants.
I'm gonna move to accept and approve the monthly bills and warrants.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Michael?
So I have two items. The first one is to accept the resignation of Brittany, effective on May 9th, end of this week.
I'm gonna move to accept the resignation of the administrative assistant, Brittany Bonsack, effective May 9th, 2025, and wish her good luck.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the hiring committee met several times after advertising for applicants, and we've had an applicant that has agreed, so I'm requesting your approval to hire Sarah Ball of Bangor, Maine as the full-time administrative assistant in the commissioner's office at pay grade 9-1, step B, and with effective date of May 17th, 2025.
So moved.
Second that.
And that grade and step is consistent with all stuff, without making any
Yeah, actually,
exceptions.
it's within the 1 through C or A through C. And part of the reason is because she does have HR experience, payroll, and things of that nature.
Is she gonna relocate or stay there?
Not sure at this point. I'm assuming stay initially.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Joe, good morning.
How you doing?
We had the agenda set up for 2 more executive sessions for employee evaluations. I'd like to get those done first. I can assure you that these are not going to take long. Only a few minutes on each one, and we can devote the rest of our meeting time to your issue. Is that okay?
Yeah, I am gonna have to leave by then.
Oh, we're gonna be actually.
I gotta, yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you've got drop dead time, so that keep it to you.
I'll keep that in mind. We'll drop that.
We won't be
All right.
long.
I'm gonna And I'm moving to go into executive session as permitted MRSA Title 105(6)A for example, employee evaluation. Our CC director.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We're back in session from a executive session, evaluation of Bob Connery. Want to publicly thank Bob for a good job as managing the RCC.
Thank you for your continued support.
All right, I'm gonna have us move into executive session as permitted by 405(6)A.
Hi, good morning.
EMA Director Sankey.
I'll second that.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Now in executive session. Executive session and evaluation of Andrew Sankey, our EMA Director. We thank him for doing an outstanding job managing that department.
All right, I'm gonna move to have us enter into executive session. RSA Title 405(6)A and MRS Title 405(6)D for discussion related to personnel matters and labor contracts.
I'll second.
Question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna make a motion, and we haven't got it written down, so you all set for this? So we're at the executive session based upon the grievance filed by the union on the interpretation and application of one of our articles in the contract. I'm going to move that we deny the grievance based upon the premise that it did not violate maintenance of standards, that this is not a violation of wages, benefits, or working conditions. We have a second to the motion.
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 2-1.
Just for housekeeping, is that we're gonna send something, right? Yeah. Yeah, we just had that conversation.
County, just so you know.
Michael, any comments from the administrator?
Just to, one, we had spoken originally about the UT visits, and I'm just trying to see whether or not I need to coordinate with Millard for the second meeting of this month to schedule the remaining portions of the UT territory, or whether you want to delay that or whatever, but I'm just trying to make sure that we don't skip over it if you intend on doing
He
it.
wants to go up to Myra, to see Myra Road. Is that what he's supposed to
I
do?
think that's one of the things he mentioned. I'm sure he has a list of other places.
Well, I think
he
the
wanted
back
to see.
road probably involved in that.
Yeah.
We've seen the windmills, so I suspect we drive right to the airline and probably go down, see the back road, and then went to the 35,000 road and up to Myra, up to the southern road, over to Myra, probably. That would be the. I could do it next Tuesday, next meeting. You can, you said?
How much time are we gonna have?
And we'll again try to keep it smaller agenda then, but I mean, obviously there'll be a couple items we probably will have to address.
So that's gonna be the 20th, correct?
Yeah.
Sam, does that work for you? So we'd have to try to have as short a meeting as we could and leave right from here with Millard and do a field trip to Northern part of the county.
The second item I had, the Historic Preservation Commission from Ellsworth had approached me back a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, the time period they're applying for a grant, they're looking for support from the county as well, because they're looking to do an archaeological survey along the riverfront, near the trails and the county boundaries there. And they were hoping to get some type of support from the commission. The grant deadline was May 1st, you guys didn't meet again, so there really wasn't any way, and she did get back to us. We followed up with her again and asked, just let her know that you guys were not gonna meet again, and really, we couldn't get you anything for the grant. The question is whether or not you want me to bring her back in and meet with you, or have her submit a copy of the grant to you to consider whether or not you want to take any official action. I guess.
So she asking for money?
I understood just support when you spoke with
Just
her.
like a letter.
Yeah, literally just support, but
Well, I mean, if we're going to do a letter, we ought to know something about it.
I saw that one email.
yeah, I think that was one. So I can try to get more information from her. I don't know if it requires her to attend, but it's up to you.
Why would the
I'm
letter be?
assuming part of it is because presumably we must be like a neighboring kind of,
It's a grant deadline was the first, what is she seeking now?
I mean, basically still just a kind of letter of support from you, but I mean, it won't be part of the application. So it's more just saying, yeah, we don't object to anything that's gonna happen with us as a good neighbor, I guess. But- So I mean, to me, normally, obviously, it'd matter more if it was actually part of the grant, but
Do what?
I said it would matter more if it was part of the actual grant, obviously, but based on your response and Brittany actually spoke with her, I mean, it sounds like she's still looking for at least a head nod from the commission that they're in support of their efforts, I guess.
We want to be careful what we supporting here without knowing full implications of what's gonna happen.
Well, and that's why I said at a minimum, I would think you'd want to see the copy of what they actually submitted.
It's like supporting the Salmon Federation, ended up, they blow up the dam, like a jail, you know what I mean? So, I mean, we really need to know.
Well, I can make that request if you.
Well, I don't think it's immediate, I don't think it's too late to give a formal. And obviously, as a landowner, we'll cooperate with whatever work they're doing.
Okay.
Jim, what do you want to do? John, do you have a?
I don't have much of an opinion on it. I don't know.
That sounds like you're too excited to talk about it.
We're
Sam,
not telling them they can't do the archaeological dig per se. We're not necessarily writing a letter saying we're supporting it. So kind of what it
so
sounds
they
like.
do archaeological.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, survey or something that includes like the boundaries and stuff. Basically to help them better understand the historic and even prehistoric activities, so I would presume they must be looking at some of those. They must include some type of, lack of a better term, digging, but
Excavation.
some type of.
Put placards up saying something.
Washington's left here.
Well, Michael, there isn't a lot of overwhelming support for, just wish her well and keep us informed and don't be digging on our backyard. It's been really difficult there.
Got it. That's all I have. Thank you.
And then I just have a point of order, so item 7C, payment to the Nature Conservancy, is there no action?
Yes, we removed that from the agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
I think you might have
step out.
You might have been used to
Fix
that.
it.
We removed that. In short, really what happened is that it doesn't require action because that's not in an account that requires our approval to transfer.
I see.
In fact, I think it's been paid. Under commissioners' comments, Michael, you and I met with Josh. We talked about some personnel policy issues regarding applications and some other stuff. Is there any progress on getting that into some form that we could discuss that with the commission?
Yeah, so I mean, Josh had started working on that. We discussed it a little bit this past week. I think he was going to meet with a representative of the sheriff's office just to confirm like what the current things are, the status of all those and where you go, so that you can finish generating that for the commission to look at. So
Okay.
I mean, it's not ready, obviously, for this meeting, it might be for the next one, but if not.
So there's some progress.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't, yeah, and we're definitely starting to put things in motion and get something back to you to look at, so.
And lastly, do you feel confident that you can gin up a written response to the grievance today?
Most likely, but obviously I would have you take a look at it if you're.
Gentlemen, do you want to see that and approve that in the meeting? Or do you want to allow Michael and I to decide?
You guys doing it?
Do what?
I'm fine with you guys doing it.
You okay with that? Okay, so Michael will gin that up, talk about it. Come to some resolution on what it should say and send it to Union. Gentlemen, have anything else you want to discuss today? John? Motion's in order.
All right, move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.